What's going on, lifers? Welcome to another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. I'm your host, Jake Thomas, coming at you finally back in the studio. And today's guest is coming to us. She's actually a local. She's a Texan, a real Texan, a true Texan, not like myself, a transplant. She is the founder and creator behind the brand Mother Faux Care. I'll let her tell you about it, maybe if I'm mispronouncing that already, and the jokes behind it, and what I like to think the namesake might be, but maybe she'll tell you what it really is. So without further ado, coming by way of Austin, Texas, Miss Jennifer Jackson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
I got to ask you right away, what is a younger person like yourself? Why aren't you out partying and like doing things that I was doing when I was 18 and 19? And what are you doing like running a, tallow-based performance company, so to speak?
I don't really know how it happened, but I just always kind of saw like from a different perspective. I always hated school, and I always just always kind of wondering. I was always a wonderer and a thinker, and just seeing like what other people were doing and just realizing that wasn't like gonna take you anywhere. It might be like fun in the moment, but like in the eyes of people that do think like partying and drinking and all that stuff's cool, like it's kind of like you would never want to be like what those people are, what they think that's cool.
Well, definitely agree with something on that, but not liking school, that was definitely me. And my grades showed for it when I was your age. But, yeah, like, I don't know, like what made you take up this instead though? Like what said, I'm going to do this, and of all things kind of poke the bear and go against the grain of what, is supposed to be healthy, what's supposed to be good for us, and using ingredients that are supposed to be toxic and harmful. But here you are with a slew of them.
Well, first I had eczema on my arm right here, and I used tallow, like the one that I created. I've tried like other brands, but either it didn't work great or I wasn't like super happy with the ingredients and the branding and like the way that they run their business. So I kind of wanted to make my own. Like it wasn't meant to be a business. But yeah, it completely cured my eczema. And then after that, I started thinking like the stuff in the stores, like, oh, like it's in Whole Foods, it must be healthy. Like it's like so not true. And then also just seed oils and everything. Like I feel like seed oils are like the gateway drug to learning about everything. You either go one way or you just forget about it. But
it's a pretty good assessment. It's true. And I was the same, thinking that because it's in Whole Foods or it's in Sprouts or somewhere else that it's pretty good. It's pretty healthy for me. But still, even within those stores, they have sections that are like healthy sections.
Yeah, like why is there a health food section?
Right. Why is there a health food section? Like, does not all be okay? And the same thing, like if you don't read labels, even in those places that we assume to be like good for us, clean for us, they're not.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the time or the wherewithal to do that. Like what got you into that? Like how has this been something new to you? Like I say new just because you still don't have too many years. I mean, you're not even 20 yet, right?
No.
Yeah. Like, so when did you start doing this? Like, how'd you figure that out?
When I was 16, it was when like one of my brother's trainers, like an athletic trainer, was kind of telling him about seed oils and raw milk. He was super into raw milk. And we were like, all right, we'll try it. And then I was kind of like, why is this like illegal in Texas and like most places? And then I was also like, why is there seed oils in everything? And I was just like again, I was just like thinking about it, and I was like, there's something wrong here. Like you gotta like dive deeper into it. And then once I did, then I like couldn't stop. It was just so amazing.
You're right about that. It's weird, like we
weird.
can buy THC and cannabis and stuff right off the street here, but it's like, getting raw milk, I got to jump through some hoops, I got to know the right people, I got to call ahead in time, and it's like a little bit more of a bootlegging operation than it appears to be. Other things available that are not necessarily the best things for us. I remember somebody telling me about things you can do in Nevada that are a lot easier and not necessarily classy, but you can't buy raw milk.
Exactly.
And I was like, yeah, that's a good way to put it, but very true. But for a younger person, like, how do you avoid all that? I'm thinking about what I was around as a kid, what snacks. I mean, you're an athlete, you play tennis, right? You play tennis for the Aggies.
Yeah,
right?
or I'm going to.
Yeah. Yes. Like, okay. So like most people, and especially you're young, you're still a teenager, you get the high metabolism. You could be going through anything you wanted to as far as in eating. Why? Why not,
Yeah, it's just like I feel like you gotta like when you're with other people, because especially like there's I know like 2 kids maybe, or 2 people my age that are like actually like into this at all.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta be, I mean, you're a fish out of water in my world. So like in your world, you gotta really be out there.
Yeah, I always put it on my Instagram, like, you gotta like be okay with people thinking that you're insane, because if you're not, then like you're just gonna fall back into what everyone else is doing. But if you just like stand your ground on like what actually makes you feel good, because like it doesn't even like, you don't need like studies or like whatever. Like, I just feel amazing. Like I like can wake up, like go play tennis all day, work on this all day. Like, I feel great. Like, I don't need anybody to like tell me that this isn't working. Like, I can feel that it's working. When I don't, like when I eat something bad, or when I eat something with seed oils on accident, or literally just cheat at all, like I feel terrible. Like, it's not even worth it.
It's a nice reminder. I mean, it's almost like an unfortunate reminder, because it's like, no matter how many times I try to think it doesn't matter, or like if I'm gonna, let me see if I can add this, or maybe it won't bother me this time, and you get hit upside the head and you're like, well,
yeah, that
it's
wasn't
still there.
it.
Yeah, it's still there. You had something recent kind of grab you by the attention and say like, nope, this isn't for me either. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
And what you're using to
Yes.
deal with it?
Yes. So yeah, I took creatine about 3 weeks ago, and it like completely just like broke out my face, super nauseous. Like I had like kind of like brain fog. Like, I just felt like weird. I was like what's going on? And I started like eliminating everything that I was doing. And I was like, what did I do different like in the last 3 weeks? And I realized I started taking creatine, and yeah, it was just like not for my body. But yeah. Shout out to the Motherfolk Hair products, though, for almost fixing it by now. So we're getting back to normal.
That's amazing. So not only promoting and advocating what you produce, but obviously using it on yourself for the reasons you encourage people to do the same.
Also, side note on that, I did go to the dermatologist just because I was curious what they would say. And I asked the dermatologist, I was like, what do you think about, because she was giving me all this medicine and stuff. I was like, what do you think about using tallow? She was like, honestly, like, I don't know much about tallow at all. Like what is that again? And,
wow.
and I was like, you're like a dermatologist. This is fixing so many people's problems. How do you not know this? That was like another like, wow.
Yeah. All the diplomas, all the credentials, all that infrastructure, information, accreditation, and you think like something as simple as that is, right past
crazy.
You mentioned about being healthy before we started talking, and just being surprised that something kind of bit you the way it did. Well, guess what? Like, the healthier you get, the more sensitive to impurity you become. As much as resilience comes with health, for sure, like just being resilient inside and out, and your metabolic health is going to improve. Your body's going to get healthier, stronger, able to fight and withstand disease and stuff, and fight them and fight infection better. You're still going to be more sensitive to impurity. So it's great when you reduce all these variables, all these potential hazards, right? Like, someone says, oh my God, I just had this salad, but the salad got me so sick. Well, there's like 50 things in that salad.
Yeah. Exactly.
So was it the pecans, or was it some type of the dressing, something in the spices? Was it one of the fruits? We don't know, because there's so many things in there. But when you reduce all those variables, like you've done over the years, removing the obvious, potential culprits by way of those seed oils, number one, and probably a bunch of other processed foods and things that are not organically made from Mother Nature. It gives you a much shorter list to be able to work with it. And you can say like, okay, I had this, and this for dinner. I feel fine. I had this, and this for dinner, one additional variable. It's pretty easy to do the arithmetic on that. But when people start changing around the math, and it's like, okay, 2 plus, X plus Y equals Z, that's pretty easy to solve. But when you've got quotients in there, and square roots, and exponents, and additional things with fractions, it's a lot harder to solve that. And like me, like talking about school, I don't like doing long division by hand. Like, I'd rather cheat and use the calculator. But X plus Y equals Z, I can probably do that all day long.
Or just make it so simple you don't need the calculator.
Exactly, right? So I see that as kind of like what we do with our food and our diets. And as attractive as a lot of those things can be, and they're colorful, and they're wrapped really fun, and they make us think of good things, and they make us even feel pretty good in the moment, how they make us feel after, I think is a much different thing. So it sounds like you were able to do that in particular with this creatine, because you said, what was the one thing that changed? So what's your revolving world look like as far as in what you ingest, what you eat? What's, a typical day for Jennifer Jackson kind of thing?
So I usually wake up, I have practice or workouts early in the morning, but I like have to eat before. I can't just like not eat very much. So I usually eat like 3 to 4 eggs from our ranch. We have our chickens, so like farm fresh eggs, so good.
Nice.
With a little bit of fruit and usually a glass of raw milk. And then I go to work out, and then depending on how long I have like in between practice, and then I'll either have there's a cafe at my gym, luckily, that like I walk in and they just like start cooking my eggs and butter. They just know, because I tell them every single time.
Awesome.
So I'll get like 3 eggs by that time, and then I have carnivore snacks. Have you heard of those?
Yeah, with the X. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
they're so good. I always have those in my truck, like 4 bags at all
Easy
times.
to go to.
Yes. Those like go-to snack, and then lunch after I practice if I can go home. Usually ground beef, sometimes with rice, most of the time just straight ground beef, with something like either like a couple like pickles or just fruit.
Ground beef pickles is great.
I know, right? It sounds weird, but it's good. And then usually more raw milk, and then back to like a longer practice, and then after practice I'll have like something big like a steak or like a lot of ground beef, usually some like raw cheese, raw milk.
It's a lot of food.
Yes.
Wow, this is a freaking D1 athlete. Like, take notes, folks. And how's that serving you as far as in how you feel, how you are on the court, what you like in class? You know, like, because you got a lot of hats to wear. Obviously, you're entrepreneur, you're an athlete, you're a student, you're a daughter, you're a sister. There's a lot of roles for Jennifer Jackson. So, like, how does that, do you lose out on some of those, or like, are you all operating highly for all of them?
I feel like it used to be way harder to get it all straight, but like having something like carnivore snacks, or just like even just I actually just feel better if I just like don't eat rather than eating something bad. Like, I mean, not saying that you should do that, but like yeah, it's kind of just like the balance. I don't think I miss out on anything like mentally. I feel like super like clear-minded now. I used to not, and like kind of like brain fog, like I said, when I started taking the creatine. But yeah. I think it's once you get it like dialed in, like where your body some days, like I said, some days I have rice, some days I won't, like just like depending on like tiny little differences, like how you feel.
Yeah.
I think it makes a big difference.
Well, so what was it like at the beginning, when 16 and you're just kind of having these aha moments and reading labels and seeing what this is like? What were you eating like before?
I kind of just like ate whatever. I never ate like
teenager.
Yeah, exactly. Like probably just like, well, probably like most people, but maybe a little bit cleaner, like, because we didn't really go out, but I would like go to like P. Terry's and I could eat like 2 double meat cheeseburgers after practice.
Nice.
Just like ton of calories, but obviously like not the best way to get them. But yeah, now I'm like, I'm pretty strict, I would say.
What was it like as far as in peers, social settings, family? It sounds like your family supports it, obviously, if y'all are raising animals and stuff at home. It sounds like you've got a good support from the immediate sphere of influence. What about outside of that? Like social settings, was it awkward for you? Was it weird? Where you get teased, you get supported there? I mean, because look, I've had to do it too, whether it's with food, substance, alcohol, like all those were kind of channels and steps for me to take, where people are like, hey man, it's okay, you can have a drink, or hey man, it's okay, you can have something else, right? Mm-hmm. But then with food, for me, it's been the most difficult of all those, because people will respect you for the most part when you're like, I don't drink anymore. Like maybe you get teased a little bit, but then it's like, it's all right. He's sober. Fine. Yeah. Like, hey, I don't do that other stuff anymore.Maybe you get teased a little bit, but eventually, fine. He doesn't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. But with food, it's like, dude, come on. You can have one of these, or you can have a little bit of that. Like, and to where maybe they don't ever stop doing that. Mm-hmm. And I still continually have to kind of go through that. So what was that like for you? What is that like for you?
So yeah, my family's definitely super supportive. We kind of all like discovered this at the same time. Or my brother was the first one who like brought it into the family, and then after that, I think I was the one who was like, wow, this is like insane. I'm gonna like do all this research. But yes, friends for sure. It's crazy. They'll either like, I mean, I guess you call them friends, but they're, like I said, there's like a couple people I know that also like get it, but it's like a weird feeling. Like, why do you like want me to like eat bad? Like, I guess you say like misery loves company, but if that's a little much, but it's kind of true. Like I'm not going to have the discipline to not eat this. So like, I want you to do it too.
Totally. I'm glad you kind of brought that up. There's a lot of psychology behind it, in the sense that it's hard to see someone feeling great and excelling, mm-hmm. And not want some of that. It's natural. It's human. We see somebody with a walking down the street with a beautiful guy, beautiful gal in their arm. You're like, he's got it made. She's killing it, or like driving a nice vehicle, or like, oh, I bet she worked really hard for that. Like, well, maybe she did.
Yeah.
I bet I bet daddy bought him that. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he busted his ass for that. Yeah. But jealousy and envy are really easy. And when it comes to especially body composition or affect and aura, it's easy for us to be envious of that and be like, well, I don't feel that way. Like, so fuck you for, you have what I want. You have what I don't have. It makes me feel inferior. It makes me feel less than.
Exactly.
So I'm going to show that to you passive aggressively by dismissal, by trying to encourage you to maybe come back down to my level a little bit so I don't feel as bad about myself. But then we're stuck not wanting to be critics or judges. Yes. Like, with our family, with our friends, like, hey, I love you for as you are. Yeah. Maybe I selfishly want you to feel what I feel. And so by doing that, you'd have to kind of do what I do, but I can't make you do it as much as I want to. And especially when you're like, God, I don't feel that great today. And, I wish I could get rid of this headache and these allergies. And I'm like, I'm fucking dying here. I'm just like, oh my God. Like if
you just knew, yeah.
Just do what I'm telling you. But like, it's hard to check that for me.
Me too.
That ego is, it is a little bit of ego, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know what to call it.
I feel like there's a line between like judging people and like telling them what to do, but like it would help them, but
1,000%. Yeah. And you're stuck, and especially with the closer the relationship, the more difficult it is, right? When it's a family friend, like a brother or an aunt or an uncle, and they're just like, I'm tired, I'm losing weight, I'm feeling heavy, or this and that, and you're just like if you just put the bottle down, that'd be a great place to start, But I don't want to be the critic or the judge and then feel like bad. So it's tough. And I'm saying that now, like navigating that water is still very, very, very challenging for me. I applaud you for doing it now at your age, especially given the amount of additional social settings you're going to be exposed to that I'm not. You're around people a lot more, around younger people, around those situations and settings where it is pressuring, tempting, even to where I know you're a person of faith. It's very much like that.
It is.
You know what I mean? And like people think like, Jake, it's not religion. I'm like, it's not, but like the conviction and the self-discipline it takes to kind of maintain that, it's very similar.
It is.
Because you're going to be faced with that kind of adversity to where it's going to be about, these are my principles. These are things that I stand for. This is stuff that I believe in. This is stuff that I preach. This is stuff that I promote and encourage other people to do. It sounds a lot like a religion to me, right? And you're going to get tested with temptation. And you're going to be asked in the heart of the lion's den, like, here it is, like just have a little bit right here. And it's going to have a smile. Yeah. And it's going to be wrapped really nicely.
I mean, the Bible literally says the bold are as righteous as a lion. So, I mean, the righteous are as bold as a lion. So I feel like it's the same thing. But yeah, it's crazy. But also, like, I feel like you just have to, like, mentally just always go back to, like, I'm just going to, not in, like, a way of, like, making other people, like, uncomfortable, but I'm just going to do what's best for me. Because, like, in the end, it doesn't really matter what they think.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm just going to, I know what makes me feel good. And it's not, like, hurting anyone else. I'm just going to do what's best for me. That's what I always tell myself.
Somebody told me the other day, too, about, how she deals with it. And the fact that no and yes are complete sentences.
Yes.
Jen, you're not hungry? Exactly. Right? You're not hungry? You're good? No. Or no, I'm fine. Thank you. You don't have to say, no, Jake, I'm good because I don't eat that and I eat this way and I'm going to totally rub your face in it and make you really remind yourself of how shitty your life is. Like, I know you're not going to say that, but like, that's how it can come off.
I know.
That's how I can perceive it. Yeah. Because you're talking about something that I have an identity built around, how I eat. You don't know where I'm from. You don't know how I grew up. So you telling me this is right and what I'm doing is wrong, even though you're not saying that, I'm interpreting like that. And I'm taking offense to that because you're questioning my family, my culture, maybe my religion too. And it's like, those are all very, very sensitive barriers that just by way of, oh, you're too good to eat in front of me, Jen? It's like, no, I'm good. I'm fasting right now. Oh, this girl, like, you can't eat my food. It's not good enough for you. And it's like,
exactly.
It's very easy to get offended by that. Like, have you been around something to that effect already?
Yes. It seems like it shouldn't be like that sensitive of a subject, but it is. People get like very like standoffish when you tell them like no thank you. Like when like at a birthday party or something, like for example, when they're serving cake, like oh no thank you. Like it's like, I'm not trying to be like weird. I just really would rather not eat that, but like I'm very happy.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You're totally sure?
Yes.
Totally sure, because like there's plenty. Just have some. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're totally sure?
It's okay, yeah. Just one bite. It's fine. It's not going to kill you. That's what people always tell me.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not like right now, but I'm going to feel terrible later and it's so not worth it.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Like, I remember flying home one time to New Orleans, and the flight attendants were like, do you want anything, snacks or drinks or something to eat? I'm like, no, I'm good. And they're like, they come back around like, are you sure you don't want anything? I was like, no, I'm good. I've been fasting for like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
You sure you don't want anything? Like, we got a full bar. Like, you can have whatever you want. And they're like, come on, it's New Orleans. You got to have something to drink. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm the one that's from here. Like, y'all are just on a trip. Like, I grew up here. Like, don't tell me. I don't say that. I'm like, no, really, I'm fine. Thank you, though. Yeah. Right? And I'm like ready to explode at this point, because I'm like, please leave me alone. Like, I just want to sit here. But the insistence to do that, granted, they're doing their jobs and they just want to accommodate and be cordial and polite and friendly. And yeah, under most circumstances, folks are like, hey, what the heck? It's New Orleans. That's what we do.
Yeah, just have one.
Right. And I get it. But I was like, the insistence on that is very real and it's really palpable. And especially if it's in a celebratory situation or even one of mourning. Right? To have a drink or to have a piece, like we're at a funeral, like just eat something. It's okay, sweetie. And like, it's almost like it slips in on the radar because it's permitted to do so, and that's why I think this is one of the most possibly difficult things to do is channel and harness a diet, because drugs, alcohol, other types of vices that are not necessarily permitted to be in every social setting, that's a barrier of entry to them. Right? Like if I was cutting up lines on this table right now, it'd be a little weird, right? If I was sitting here slamming beers, we could do it, but it would be kind of out of context given the nature of the show. But if we were just eating, we could do that. We'd probably eat certain foods, but like we could certainly eat and it'd be totally fine. But doing those other things,
it's also like you have to eat to survive. So, I mean, you don't have to do the other things, but.
Exactly, right? To where someone says to me, hey, Jake, I can't do that. I have this disability or I'm unable to, like, okay, fine. I know you have to eat, right? So when someone says, I can't work with you or I can't do what you do or I can't come join your program, because they assume it's all about physical and things on the outside and the superficial body and being. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I don't need you to do anything. You can sit on the sofa. Exactly. And they're thinking like, what? Like what sorcery is going to take place here? I'm like, yeah, you're just going to fast or you're going to eat these things. And to them, they don't even see that coming, because I'm like, to me, I'm like, I know you got to eat. And I know you think you want to eat kind of thing. But it's just it's very difficult place because, again, there's 4 vitals to life: eating, sleeping, drinking, and breathing. You attack or touch any one of those 4 things, you're going to get a very radical response. Sleep deprivation, for example. There's a reason we use it to interrogate people, because it's very effective. You've been tired before. You know what it's like to be dragging ass, whether it's trying to play on the court, trying to idea, do anything, study, right? Perform. It's difficult to do that with lack of sleep.
For sure.
Water. You deprive water from somebody, it can be very effective, obviously in a dry, fast form, but over an extended period of time, it can become deadly and critical really fast. Breathing. Breath work is a tremendous benefit when done properly. But if we withhold that and we're not prepared for it, it can get critical pretty fast too. And the last one being eating.
Yes.
You restrict food, you can get, again, tremendous benefit by way of fasting and controlled intermittent fasting. But when you don't have it for quite some time, it can be pretty critical pretty fast. So those 4 things, you touch any one of those nerves and you're going to get a serious response. And that's why this one is so radical, because it has this whole cultural and social context that comes with it. The rest of those things are individual sports: sleeping, breathing, drinking. For the most part, those are individual. You take care of that on your own time, independent. You understand individual sport. You're a tennis player, right? So this is singles, not doubles.
Yes.
But food, all of a sudden, it becomes doubles.
Yeah, because everyone's involved.
Or bigger. Yeah, because we want to celebrate. We use it as a means of escape. We're bored. Oh, now we're really hitting it, because that's where it matters. We don't do any of those other things like, hey, I'm bored. I need to
go drink a bunch of water. Yeah.
Usually not, or like, let me work on some breath work because I'm bored. Yeah. Or like, let me take a nap because I'm bored. It'd be a great thing, right? But most people don't do that because they're bored. They do that to get away. And for food, for sure, oh, I'm bored, let me eat. So taking all that into context, how'd you start doing this on your own? Were you tinkering? Like I see you as like a chemist, like you're titrating a little bit of this or that, pinch of this, pinch of that, like.
Yes, Walter White vibes.
Oh, awesome.
No, yeah, I started with the body butter because I had eczema, like I said. Yes, that one. Oh wait, no, this one.
This guy.
Yes. I started with that one. It took me forever to get the right recipe, whether it was too hard, too like grainy. Sometimes tallow can be super grainy. The way I rendered the tallow, sometimes, people think it's like, oh, it's beef fat, it must smell terrible.
It smells good.
The different ingredients I added into it, like the honey, the olive oil, how much of each. Yeah, it took a really long time to get the consistency that I was super happy with. But the deodorant, that's the one that was the one.
Tough?
Yes.
That was the toughest? Why?
For sure. Whether it caused like a bunch of irritation. A lot of natural deodorants use baking soda, which is like super irritating to a lot of people. But yeah, having tallow as the first ingredient and the main ingredient was kind of difficult to figure that out. But then adding in the other stuff,
that's good too.
Yeah, frankincense and tea tree. But like adding like the bentonite clay, which is detoxing, was a game changer. And then also the packaging, I was like super adamant about not having plastic on a bunch of stuff. So these are all in glass and that's in cardboard. So that tube's completely biodegradable.
Freaking awesome. How much trial and error was there like for you with the package, obviously ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the biblical aspects of the frankincense. Nice. Yes. Because the glass isn't always common. A lot of people still use plastic. And one of my pet peeves with those things actually with plastic is that the tops will always crack inevitably. So having the tin and the glass is like way better for structural preservation.
That was actually one of my most recent changes. It used to be a glass jar with a plastic lid.
And they would crack, right?
If you tightened it too tight, it would just crack or drop it barely, it would crack. So yeah, that was a big change. And then I never had it in plastic to start with, but finding a glass jar that was like sturdy, which like they would used to just break all the time, like for no reason. You'd think that wouldn't happen, but the deodorant tube, finding like a good size, because those aren't really super easy to find.
That's a pretty unique shape. For sure.
It is. So it works so good though.
Yeah, well, it hits the 3 ounce mark, right? So it stays under 100 mils.
Exactly.
Right? So what was obviously again your family supported you in this. What was their input like? And who else were you testing? Who were your guinea pigs, and how were you dosing it on them to see like what the effects were like?
So yeah, mainly my parents. The deodorant, kind of a funny story. Like when I first made the deodorant, it like gave my dad like the worst rash ever.
Oh no!
All year, because it was super irritating. But I used baking soda, but it did that to me too. And a lot of natural deodorants like still do that to people like today, like the ones you can buy. But I was like, yeah, there's no way I want to do it like this. Obviously. But yeah, my parents,
which is a great causality, like to be like, okay, let's not do that. Like exactly. Quick interjection of something like that. Thomas Edison famously said after making the light bulb, or inventing the light bulb, would you learn doing it? 10,000 ways how not to do it.
Exactly.
Right. So, hey, baking soda off the table. Like, great learning point.
If I could tell anyone, or if anyone was starting a tallow business, I could tell them so many things not to do. But yeah, testing it on my family, mainly me, just like the way it just feels, like not even, I mean, the way it works on stuff, but also just the way it feels. It's got to like feel smooth and easy to apply. And then family, friends, and then the deodorant was what made people were like I gave it to them and just to try, whatever, like, oh, like, can I have more? Like it works so good.
Nice.
And then like it wasn't really meant to be a business. Like it was kind of just, I just wanted natural products that actually worked. And then after that, I was like, maybe I should like make this available to more people. So the deodorant was kind of like the spark of like, this could actually like be something. And then like even just walking in here today, like I get DMs all the time, like I can't use aluminum because like my family has like this history of cancer and all this stuff. And I've never found a natural deodorant that works, and yours works.
Oh, amazing.
Like it's crazy to hear that stuff.
That's so cool. And so how'd you get hooked up with Where We Met Attack Your Health?
I just saw it on Instagram.
Nice.
And I emailed Josh.
Yeah.
And I was like, at that time I was really small, and he was like, yeah, we can help you out with like, kind of like a little discount, help you get a ticket, and we can get you they were out of vendor booths at that time, or for like the smaller ones, like we'll have you as like a full exhibitor. And
Amazing.
I was like, oh no, like, I'd like done like a couple farmers markets. That's
Amazing.
it. But I went and it was
Yeah,
the
you
coolest
killed it.
thing ever.
You were great. I was talking to Robin yesterday.
Oh really?
I told her I was going to see you today. She was excited. She's like, told me to tell you hello.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. I met so many cool people there. And I just knew you from Instagram.
Yeah, I know. When you said the same thing, I was like, right on. Yeah. And then when you told me what you're doing there, I was like, sign me up. Cool. So what about...
You're a motherfucker here now.
I'm glad you said that. Tell us about the name. Because I have different ideas about the name. And people have asked me about like, what does that mean? I'm like, you know, the Marine in me with a foul mouth and mine thinks like, oh, it's like motherfucker. Like, yeah. Like, so tell me about it, where that came from.
So it's kind of an interesting story. My nickname has always been JFO.
Okay.
It started from Mofo, and then my dad just changed it to JFO for I don't know what reason, but people always called me JFO since I was like really little. And then my tennis coach just shortened it to Fo because he was just like, I'm just gonna start calling you Fo.
Okay.
So and then Mother was from Mother Earth, like you know all the ingredients are from Earth, and then Care was kind of skincare, and then we were like, oh, Mother Fo Care. So yeah, slogans be a Mother Fo Care.
That's great. It's really good. Super unique for sure. Easy to remember.
Yes.
So what about like your friends and everybody? Was it easy for them to take it on? Like, were they pretty supportive and like, hey, I'll do it too? I know you said the deodorant went quick with people, but it's hard to change what people are used to. Robin and I were talking about this yesterday. I used to love Aesop skincare company.
Oh yes.
Big fan. One of my best friends has worked for them for years, and I loved their stuff. And I also loved what it represented, which to me was like class. It was really posh. It was refined. It was expensive. So the materialism of it, I was something that I connected to. So when I started getting into totally natural products or just limiting out what I had in the form of products, that was a hard thing for me to disassociate from, was the brand connection that I had materialistically. Because I was like, oh my God, now people aren't going to see that I've got all this cool shit. Yeah. When they come over and they go, damn, this guy's high dollar, you know, like
all this expensive
he's got all this expensive cool shit. Or they come over, of course Jake has this stuff, you know, da da da.
Now he's got tallow.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn right he does, you know? Yeah. And I'd have like the whole shelf set up like that. So it was like a display. Separating from that was hard for me. Like that was a hurdle I didn't see as being a big deal, but I was like, I don't want to get rid of this stuff. Like I love this stuff because of what it represents to me. Has anyone told you anything like that? Or have you seen that? Or could you, see people having trouble with that? Or am I just like a diva on my own? You know?
No, I agree. I think it's like, honestly, like it almost seems like too good to be true to a lot of people. Like, oh no, like I go to Westlake Dermatology and I get
exactly.
like, I get $400 worth of skincare products and my skincare routine's 10 steps and I do all this stuff and like I feel super like fancy and whatever. But like, no, like I just take a shower and I put towel on my face and it's perfect. Like it just works. It literally just works. That's what I tell people. Like, it's just like straight up natural and it works. You don't need like thousands of dollars and all kinds of crazy treatments and stuff. Just go back to the primal ways.
I say the same. And I've had people say that braggingly to me about like, yeah, I get like tons of money worth of product and spend this much at the derm. And I'm like, okay, I'm not discounting the science of all that and the benefit that's likely there. And these people are accredited and they have gone to school and I have friends that do that too. And God bless and I love and appreciate them. But yeah, for you to like talking about what you dealt with recently and saying to your dermatologist, yeah, I've just been using tallow. What do you know about that? I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah. How is this your job?
Yeah. Like, how is this your job? Yeah. Literally. Right. Yes. But that's the truth of what's out there. I had a friend saying something similar to where she had been told and diagnosed with certain things and that they were permanent and lasting and that there was essentially nothing she could do about them. And we started talking more and I was like, what about just trying to will it out yourself with your mind a little bit? I'm not saying it might totally cure it, but what about that? And we kind of unpacked that a little bit. And it's difficult to say like, no, I've been told by this doctor, this specialist, these people with multiple more degrees and commas and letters after their names than you have, that this is the way it is. And I was like, okay, but just what if maybe there's another way?
Yes. That's what I always tell people. Yeah, maybe.
Just maybe,
yeah,
right?
Just
like,
try it.
Just try it. Because to me, an absolute zero, or let's say this, for a fraction, a zero cannot hold a denominator, cannot be a denominator of a fraction. It cannot hold any numerator above it. But 0.001 can. any type of a number can support a numerator. Any type of a denominator that has value can support a numerator, but an absolute zero cannot. So if you have choices and one of those choices is an absolute zero, meaning you can't change it, it's permanent, there's nothing you can do about it, it's there. Okay. Option B is maybe, but it's like a super slim chance, and it's going to be a lot to deal with. It might be really hard, and it might still not work, but maybe. Compared to absolute zero, it's like, this is the only one that exists if this is a definite no. That's hard for people to take, though. And for the example I'm giving with a friend of mine, she really didn't want to hear that. And to think that, there's another way. With that comes victimhood. With that comes identity, ideology, a character that you've built up with, like, I'm stuck this way. There's nothing I can do about it. And I have a lot of support telling me that this is how it's going to be from these doctors and all this literature and rhetoric, And I'm just saying, maybe there's another way. But to accept that, or even to like go forward with that, that's a hard thing to do, because you got to go against all that other stuff. And I said, look, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm simply saying that with all their might and all those diplomas and all that other stuff, not one of those people suggested maybe there could be another way.
I always tell people that with doctors, like, if I was making a ton of money off of you being sick, I probably wouldn't tell you to do this either.
Patient healed is a customer lost.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that was my most viral post ever on Instagram.
It's the truth.
It's so true.
It's the truth, and it is very difficult to think. I don't know. It's kind of nice right now. The last few weeks have been pretty interesting. Speaking of Instagram and online.
It has been.
But have you seen an uptick in business because of that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. I even talked to a lady that runs this new, or not new, but this event that I'm going to go to. And she's like, we've had the best last 2 weeks we've ever had in like the 20 years of running this. She's like, people are so happy with the economy, or like with the fact that it is coming back now.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's crazy. She's like, I have to be careful who I say that to, but.
I believe it though.
Yes.
I believe it.
Yes. And back to like what you're saying about the doctors, like, I feel like, or like the different ways of doing stuff. Like, if we did this and people were like healthy for like hundreds of years doing it like the old ways, and like there's all these people with all these degrees and stuff now, like what makes you think that like that's better for some things? Some things like you do need that or whatever, but like, the like primal ways of living, like grounding,
Sure.
circadian rhythm, like seeing the sunset, the sunrise, and just being outside and like just like being on the earth and like eating actually the earth's food, besides like all this crazy man-made stuff and man-made like logistics.
I'm marveled by you. How'd you do all this at such a young age? Like I lived in a different world when I was your age. A very different world. Like was this family influence, like how you were raised, how you were brought up, like finding it on your own with your brother?
I honestly don't really know. I feel like I was kind of just meant to learn about this. It's so fascinating to me, like more than anything else. Just like also the fact that people have like don't really have like a purpose like in their life is the most mind-blowing thing ever to me. Like God, or I mean, Andrew Tate said it in one of his podcasts. It's like people, these like men, especially, just wandering around like the earth, like, or like going to their 9-to-5 job, just going home, just playing video games. Like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
that's not living at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the most amazing thing, the most eye-opening thing was that. Just like what are we doing? Like, can you just like, I don't know, just have a real purpose? I feel like this is spreading
it's a pretty good one.
It's pretty
good
fun.
one. Yeah, especially now. I mean, like no matter where you go with it, at least knowing that it's something creative, number one, it's substantive, it comes from a good place and it's for a good reason, as opposed to I'm trying to destroy people with manipulation. It's like, what about what I make is wrong?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's nothing in my message that I sell like, oh God, I hope they don't find out that it's actually, something else. It's like, no, go ahead, strip it down. Like,
it's just real.
Yeah. All right.
100% faux real.
Oh God, that's great. when you're talking about like things around and why so much has seemed to change, as far as in people's perceptions of health and whatnot, in particular with medicine, I think it's really easy for us to be short-sighted about our past, or nearsighted rather about our past, in the sense that most people, we think about what's healthy and what's right or wrong based on 1 or 2, 3 generations at most, right? What my parents told me, what my grandparents said, maybe what my great-grandparents said, and then Other than that, I don't really know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that was existing a generation after that is what would be problematic now. But yet everything that we're laying a loyalty to, all the credence, all the literature, all the studies, all the supportive information is all from less than 100 years ago, right? And the same thing, all the advent of all these issues that we all seem to be having are within less than 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, I was at...
and what was created in the last 100 years?
It's creepy, right?
Seed oils?
So like sitting last night at Paul Saladino's documentary premiere, which is coming out tonight.
I
so
saw
for everybody
that.
to watch that, 8 p.m. I think it's 8 Central on YouTube.
It's called like Fed a Lie, right?
Fed a Lie. Yeah, really
Yes.
cool. Brilliant
I'm excited to watch
titling. But seeing the correlations of what was being consumed or not being consumed and how not prevalent the consumption of vegetable oil was in the early 1900s. This is 1920, so less than 100 years ago. Very, very, very little percentage of consumption. Compared to now, it's multiple times over in less than 100 years. And yet the correlation of disease that's associated with that is very positive. But sugar has increased, but doesn't have a correlation to the same way as does the consumption of seed oils. So people think like sugar is this terrible thing. It's like this other, carbon monoxide kind of thing, odorless, tasteless gas, right? That's extremely deadly. Seed oil is killing far more people. It's causing far more issues metabolically with people, as opposed to what people think sugar is doing. And it's like, man, the great deception, kind of like that great deceiver of thinking that it's one thing, but it's actually this other thing that's really giving us all these issues that were created on our own volition. No one on this earth. People ask me about, is the carnivore, is this the way? Is vegan the way? When people say, I cheated this week, I had a tomato, Jake, I'm like, okay, that's awesome.
That's a pretty good cheat.
Right, that's great. And it's like, if that's how far up the mountain we are of like self-critique and like sought for perfection, great. Because it's not that, hey, I fucked up again and I got to take the needle out of my arm, or like, I slept over, or whatever, I made that bet. Like, those are bigger things. So when we're talking about like, hey, I had a donut and I cheat, like, it's way better than all this other stuff.
Yes.
But as far as in saying which diet or which way is best or perfect, nobody in this world has ever gotten sick from eating whole food. No one has gotten metabolically unhealthy from eating whole foods. So that to me is my answer to best and healthiest diet. And when people think about cheating or that, I had too many blueberries, it's like, you can eat a dump truck of blueberries before you're going to get sick, But those other things that have these additives that are not from this earth or not from the sky or not from the natural world, that's where the problems come up.
That's dangerous, yeah.
Very dangerous. So for someone that's on the precipice of a career in sports and Division I athletics, how are you going to, you can just let your play speak for itself, let your performance speak for you, and your methods?
That's the plan. I feel like it's also like I said earlier, like you don't really need like people always tell me like, where's the studies?
Yeah.
Or like, where's the facts? Like, yeah, your performance, the way you feel, your brain, like how much like energy you have throughout the day, like those are like, that is like the studies. Like you don't need it like written down by like a bunch of doctors testing on people. Like if you did it, you would feel it, but you're probably not going to do it if you're asking me that.
Dr. Sean O'Mara said that to me one time on a panel we were on earlier this year. Very well put about like use feelings, not test scores. We can go get biomarkers checked, lipid panels, and maybe my cholesterol is high. Maybe you have something that seems to be adverse or just not in a favorable range. Is that an absolute perfect indicator of health?
Yeah. I mean, like, who made up like what cholesterol level's good?
Well, that, and it's like this person just walked in. She's 18 years old. 18 years old, the primer for life, fit to play collegiate, Division I collegiate tennis, is an entrepreneur, self-starter, wakes up at the crack of dawn every day, goes all day long, has tons of energy, Yet this one out-of-range marker is giving me grounds to say, well, you know what, Jen, I think we should get you on this ... regimen of ... prescription drug. Before I've even asked you what your diet's like, maybe we should start there. And I say that because my best friend from home 2 weeks ago was like, hey man, I just got my lipids done and my doctor wants to put me on a statin. I would love to get your opinion on things, just to look it over for me twice. Before I even looked at the stuff, I said, did the doctor ask you about your diet or lifestyle at all? No.
Those 4 things.
Yeah, I was like,
imagine if the doctors asked those 4 things that you're talking about.
Before anything, like, did they ask you about your diet or lifestyle?
Mm.
I know he still drinks, which is fine. I'm not condemning that. I know he doesn't eat the best. He eats really well, but like, why not let's start with changing some of that first and then retest and then see what we maybe need to do after the fact, as opposed to don't change anything at all. Just take this.
Yes.
And stay as you were.
Like if you have or if your doctor doesn't ask about your lifestyle or diet, then you don't have a doctor, you have a drug dealer.
Yeah, it's hard not to like that. Where do you go from here? Like what's the business growth looking like? What's the next thing on the horizon for you? All that. What's next for Motherfolk Care?
Well,
what's a Motherfolk Care to do?
Exactly. Well, I'm going to college in a year, so I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna do both, play a D1 sport and continue to do this. Also, just like released the official athlete program, which you're a Motherfolk Care official athlete. So I wanted my brand to be like, for the like kind of high performance and others too, but like showing that when you do this, you can perform at like a high level, and also just like being faith-based has been like a really helpful step in growing the business and like getting into that world, because like there's kind of like the holistic like people that kind of just live like a normal life, but like getting like athletes into it and like high performers like to even take like whatever they're doing like to the next level, because like they probably all use like aluminum deodorant or whatever, like like it's probably not helping. So like getting them to get into that too, it's been like super awesome to see, especially people who didn't know about it and they're like, wow, like it actually is like the tiny little changes like you don't really like know that make a big difference. Well,
especially you at that level of competition, like you're looking for every edge.
Exactly.
And 1% difference, it makes a lot of difference. Think about like track, like 1% difference in a 100-meter dash is a light year.
Yeah, like 0.0001 seconds.
You're fighting for that, right? The race this year, the men's 100 final, was insane. Insane. And it's like, that's what we're talking about. You train, I think Usain Bolt said that I trained 4 years to run, 9 seconds or whatever. And it's like, it's a lifetime.
That's a crazy thought.
Yeah, but it's real. And so to be able to find an edge in that, and you're thinking about how you're going to do it, I would say, just keep doing what you're doing. There should be fear.
Yes.
There should be uncertainty. But if there's any doubt, then there is no doubt. Right? Fear and uncertainty are great. Doubt is the one that'll tell you when it's wrong. Like you're afraid. You should be afraid. What's going to happen? I don't know. You don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. But the drive that keeps you going is faith.
Yeah, a friend just asked me that the other day. He was like, how are you going to play a sport and do this? I was like, I don't know, but that's the fun part. We're about to find out.
I'll figure it out. Exactly.
I was like, that's exactly what makes it
fun. When you have doubt, it'll kill you right there. And it's at the same time, it's a good thing to listen to, because if there's doubt, there's your answer. Like, okay, I don't want it that bad. Fine. But when it's just uncertainty and fear, strap in, because that's where the good stuff is. Yeah. Like if we go climb a mountain and you're like, Jake, let's hit this thing. It's going to be amazing. And I'm like, how the fuck are we going to get up there? Like, you're crazy. And you're like, I don't know, but it's going to be amazing from the top.
It's going to be so fun.
You know how cool it's going to be from the top? And I'm like, oh God, I don't.
And you're probably going to learn a bunch of stuff on the way up.
And it's not about being reckless or irresponsible. It's just like, we'll figure it out. I've got you said it earlier, curiosity, the desire to learn, and don't ever lose that. I'm telling you, don't ever lose that. It's easy with age, synonymous with responsibility, obligation, distraction, like to lose that child. Don't lose that. Like keep that, because that's the secret to all of it, is having this like, I wonder what else could happen today. Like this is so cool. Waking up thinking it's like Christmas morning, going to bed because you're so excited and wired. Like somebody just knock me out, please, because I want it to be tomorrow already, because I can't wait to see what it's about to bring. That's real. You want to change that? It'll do it perfectly for you. It'll kill those dreams. It'll keep your mind dark, and it'll make you not believe in what you think you can really do. That's the secret.
That's exactly what I posted on Instagram this morning, was there are no rules. That is like my brain. I'm like, there's like, you can wake up and decide you're going to like do something, like there are like, no one's stopping you from doing like whatever you want. You can literally achieve whatever you want. That's
telling you.
That's the coolest mindset. You
stay with this stuff. You keep your ears keep it clean between your ears, feed your body the way it's meant to be fed, and get rid of the white noise. It's not about like, it's not a diet that's doing it to you or doing it for you. It's your body. It's just getting out of the way and letting it do its own homeostatic perfection that it was born to do. Like everything about you is perfect. Like we are born these living miracles that embody this skin and flesh, you know? But we get in the way from the time we're born until we start aging. We just get in the way. And so people think like, wow, the vegan diet healed my body. The carnivore diet healed my body. It's like the diets didn't do those. Food is not medicine. Food is just food. But it permits certain types of food to allow the body to do what's innately able to do, and that is to auto-regulate and self-heal. So keep
true.
doing what you're doing. I promise it's going to serve you the same as it still does now.
Thank you. It's so
All right.
fun.
Well, freaking rock and roll. You got anything else to say? Last impressions before we leave? Where to find you? Where to tap into the world of Motherfolk Care and all that?
Yes. Or I do have one more thing to say. Well,
Yeah.
kind of. For like just anybody that's like doing anything different, just like you just can't care what people think. Like that's my number one tip to everyone. Like, well, actually, have a relationship with Jesus first, and then can't care what people.
It's a strong bond.
Yes. They always like have a higher purpose, and then you just cannot care what other people think, because if you do it one way, that opposite group of people is gonna think you're crazy. If you do it the other way, then that group of people is gonna think you're crazy. So just don't care what people think. Just do what's best. And yes, you can find everything at motherfolkcare.com, and then we're also on Instagram at motherfolkcare.
Roger that. Well, you guys know my position on it. I'm happy to support Jen and Motherfolk Care as one of her athletes. And she said my skin looks really good. And I was like, well, thanks. You should know.
It does. We're thriving.
Indeed. So for everybody else, really appreciate Jennifer Jackson and Motherfolk Care for being here. And for another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid, I'm your host, Jake Thomas. We appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.